Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast. Today, we're talking about Santa coming back, Zach and Elizabeth caught in a beanie bubble, and Letitia Wright is back to work, but M'Baku wants a raise. Plus, we share our thoughts on that Moon Knight trailer. All this and everything else that happened this week in Geek.
Love ya. Get home safe, guys. Peace.
Hey, it's Nate, and if you're joining us for the first time, well, we are Geekcentric, a podcast celebrating the world of movies, TV shows, toys, collectibles, and all things geek-centric. Joining me on the show for This Week in Geek, we've got the Jamba Juice of podcasting, Jayla.
Yo, yo.
How's it going? You juicing? You juicing up?
Oh, I'm juicing, bro.
Oh, he's
After
juiced.
shoveling 3 feet of snow, I'm juicing.
Jeez. Well,
Let's
speaking
do
of
it.
shoveling snow next to him, we've got Mr. Plow himself, Kevin Hudson. How you doing, buddy?
That's my name. That name again is Kevin Hudson.
How's it going, guys? You've been covered in snow, it seems.
Yes, Ontario is in record-breaking snowfall. Well, specifically Toronto, but
Yeah.
it was funny because we're north of the city, where I am, and wasn't as bad as it was downtown in Toronto. So
Wonder if they had to call the army in again to help clear some of that snow.
yeah,
Insane.
The rest of Canada laughed at us as we called in the Army Reserves to clear the snow.
Well, I got home and my dad was like, "Oh, they're shutting down all of Toronto." I'm like, I don't know about that. We're here in Halifax, and it's just mostly rain. What else is new? But when you combine rain with an already heavy snowfall, it's pretty scary getting around here. So especially when there's literally no lights anywhere in the entire province. So it was pretty dark. But to warm ourselves up, I'm sure we enjoyed quite a bit of maybe some TV, maybe some movies. Why don't we get into whatcha? Kevin, whatcha?
Well, this weekend I took the time to check out the new television series Peacemaker, starring John Cena.
Yeah, dude, did you even see him? I don't know if you could even see him on the show.
It was weird watching a show where the main character's invisible, yes. And boy, I'm not tired of that joke after about 10 years of it, being the big wrestling fan that I am.
What did you think?
I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I thought it had a really kooky sense of humor, far more adult than anything you're going to see on a Disney Plus show, that's for sure. So I appreciated that. Yeah, no, it's something I'm looking forward to seeing. I think they've done a good job over those first 3 episodes of setting up sort of who the characters are and who our big bad is going to be. I thought that was an interesting little reveal towards the end of that 3rd episode there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they have in store.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've only seen the first episode, and I feel like it's kind of setting sort of the tone of the entire show, obviously, as you do in a good first episode. And it's interesting to sort of see how charming John Cena is, how charming the character of Peacemaker is, knowing sort of like who he kind of really is. His roots, especially, I think, help to really make him a little bit more of a character we can relate to, especially when you it's not a spoiler to say we meet his dad in the series. But I gotta ask, for you guys who've watched maybe the first 3 episodes, because it felt like it sort of was really heavy on obviously the character of Peacemaker and getting to see him. Does it feel like they are going to give the other characters a little bit more time as well, a little bit more spotlight, or do you think it is going to be mostly just Cena being Cena the entire time?
No, I do think it's going to revolve heavily around that character, but we do get to know a little bit more about who the other characters are and get to see their personalities come out, especially his friend, the sidekick. I think it's Vigilante is his name.
Oh, okay.
He comes in a lot more in the next 2 episodes and is quite an interesting character.
Very cool.
Yeah, I haven't checked it out yet. It's something that I definitely want to check out. But Nate, as you were saying, like, the whole success of Peacemaker from the Suicide Squad movie was that interest in his character and wanting to learn more, especially from the choices that he makes in that movie, and where we find him at the end of it. So there was already that hook, and which is why I'm excited to check it out. But it does seem like they are advertising it as it's Peacemaker, but there is a cast of people,
an
right?
ensemble.
Because they're continuing the ensemble idea from Suicide Squad. I feel like,
sure.
right, from the Suicide Squad. So,
but I mean, it's really interesting, and I'm not going to spoil kind of who it looks like maybe his sort of main sidekick will be with Daniel Brooks, who plays Leota, and she's such a phenomenal actress, such a phenomenal character actress. So it's going to be really cool to sort of see. I loved her in Orange is the New Black. I think is probably my favorite performance that she's ever done. But even kind of seeing Steve Agee come back and Jennifer Holland, who were, you could tell there was more to them in the movie. But
the organization that runs,
and
the Suicide Squad.
I was pretty blown away with how much they were able to make the recap of the Suicide Squad feel like it was an episode of TV. Like, I understand that they cut it that way and they played music in the background that sort of made it seem, but it felt like I was watching, I'm like, is this a movie or is this stuff I hadn't seen yet? Like, it felt
I'd never really seen previously on quite like that, where it's literally recapping a 2.5 hour long movie. That was very interesting for sure.
It was really cool. And you got to watch the intro, like the opening scene. Don't skip it. I mean, I don't think you can. I think James Gunn made a really big deal that like you can't even skip it on the app or anything like that. So
I'm currently learning those dance moves. I'm gonna put on a production amazing. Of it. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. Justin, how about yourself?
Yeah, for myself, I got a chance to check out over the weekend a movie that was straight to Prime, The Tender Bar, directed by George Clooney, starring Ben Affleck, Ty Sheridan, and Lily Rabe. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. Sorry if I mispronounced it. But it's based. The only reason I really wanted to see it is because it's George Clooney directing, and I like Ben Affleck. Right. And I thought it was, and he's nominated for a SAG, and I was like, okay, if they're nominating him for a SAG, and I think it's for this movie, then I'd like to see his performance. And I got to say, it was okay. Like the movie was okay. It's very heartfelt. It is very coming of age story. It is based on a best-selling memoir, The Tender Bar, which follows an aspiring writer played by Ty Sheridan pursuing his sort of romantic and professional dreams from a stool in his uncle's bar, who's played by Ben Affleck. He learns what it means to grow up with a group of very diverse crowd that he kind of rolls with in terms of age and just influences. I will say Christopher Lloyd's in this. Yeah, he's fantastic, and like they didn't utilize him as much as they could have. It just felt very like subpar.
Because I was gonna say, I'm looking at the casting and I was like, yeah, Christopher Lloyd's there. If they're playing off the whole aspect of like the grandpa situation, I'm like, is this gonna be a tearjerker, or as you say, a Nate jerker? You gotta stop saying that. But seeing Christopher Lloyd in it, like I'm like, oh, please tell me they do the really sad stuff with the grandpa. It sounds like they kind of do that.
I don't want to spoil it, but
sure.
Everything was very underutilized with it.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's not the only thing directed by George Clooney that we're going to be talking about tonight, interestingly enough. But before we get to that, for my watcha, I've definitely been jumping back into Gemstones, The Righteous Gemstones Season 2. It is absolutely still fantastic. I think HBO does such a good job with their production value that they can give me even something that's really more of a comedic take, and I think a lot of other companies would fumble what they're doing with this story. But they just do it to such a great degree where I'm laughing, but I'm also so intrigued at the same time.
I have to say, I had a bit of a streaming or an on-demand issue and went to go watch the first couple episodes of season 2 and ended up watching episode 2 first. So needless to say, we were really confused with where the characters were, what had happened between.
Are they going to explain this at some point? Oh, shoot.
So that was a bit disappointing, but I will say, even watching them in reverse order, yes, I think this season's off to a great start, and big things are going to happen, I think. There's some bombshells there,
It's so much fun. And then for the thing that I really dug into, and it's, we're in that streaming culture where we can watch a whole season of a show between watches. But I watched and finished season 1 of Yellow Jackets, which just wrapped. And I had a ton of people really kind of hyping the show up for me, saying it's basically Lost. And listen, it's definitely not the caliber of Lost, but I did really enjoy it. It's another mystery box show, plane crash, scary stuff happening, but instead it's with an all-girls soccer team, which I was a little worried at first with their ages. I felt like it could have really easily become sort of like a teen drama, CW sort of style dialogue show, but the performances and the writing they're just really, really, really good. If you haven't checked it out yet, I highly recommend it, especially if you are a fan of Lost. I don't think, it's already been greenlit for a season 2. I don't think it is going to be Lost, but it's going to scratch the itch for sure. So I really think you guys need to check it out because I need to talk to you about the stuff that happens in it, and I really want to talk about it because it is, again, one of those sort of cooler moment shows, right, where you pull your friend at work aside. And today at work, I literally was like asking every person I possibly could, like, please tell me you've watched Yellow Jackets, and nobody has, so I have no one to talk to. So I'm hoping you guys watch it.
I will say, Nate, you got my hopes up there. You said, I just dove into season 1 of Yellow, and I thought, come on, hit me with that stone, and no.
Yellowstone.
You broke my heart. I
mean, listen, I'll do a trade with you. If you can get through a season of Yellow Jackets, I feel like there's certain aspects about it that you might, I don't know if it's going to fully be your jam, but I would challenge anyone not to watch the first 30 seconds of episode 1 and not at least want to continue watching that episode, because that is such an incredible way to open the series. It's just really, really well done. So, that's it for Whatcha. Feels like we got really into those. So let's move on to the news.
It's all about the details.
All right, this first story, Zach Galifianakis, Elizabeth Banks, Sarah Snook, and Geraldine Viswanathan, starring in The Beanie Bubble. This coming to us from James White of Empire Online, who writes...
Mr. White.
Mr. White writes, Beanie Babies were one of the great fads of the 1990s, especially across the pond. I guess he's British, so like across the pond, I'm not going to do the accent, as collectors obsessed over sweet little fuzzy creatures. Prices soared, fights broke out over certain beanies, and a whole subculture was born. It's recently been chronicled in a documentary, which I've heard is really fantastic, by the way. It's called Beanie Mania. But now a fictionalized film is on the way, starring Zach Galifianakis, Elizabeth Banks, Sarah Snook, and Geraldine Viswanathan. Kristen Gore adapted the script from the book The Great Beanie Baby Bubble, Mass Delusion, and the Dark Side of Cute, and will co-direct the film alongside newcomer Damien Kulash. According to the producers, it pulls back the curtain on the absurdities and injustices of the American dream, particularly the female relationship to it, and it's a celebration of the women who helped bring power businessman Ty Warner's success, whose strengths and good instincts shaped and amplified the phenomenon, but whose names are not on the Beanie Babies' heart-shaped tags. It's the first film to emerge from Ron Howard and Brian Grazer's new deal between Imagine Entertainment and Apple, so we could see it in cinemas, or it might end up going straight to Apple TV+. So guys, first off, have you ever hit someone over a Beanie Baby? And more importantly, what do you think of this 90s nostalgic drama, Kevin?
There was certainly no violence in my experience with the cuddly little stuffed animals.
Likewise, yes.
My family was definitely all aboard that hype train. I remember, even getting some good ones where you had the little plastic tag protectors.
You got to protect them, dude.
We even had a couple in those boxes, those clear plastic boxes. So I'm not sure where any of them are, or if any of them were actually the few that survived to maintain value. But I always I've seen the image a lot, and it's this was divorce in the 90s, it says, and you see the couple dividing them on the courtroom floor over their divorce, and so if the movie sort of touches on just that level of absurdity, I think it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it's got the opportunity to be comedic, but also I feel like I feel like this movie has the ability to sort of explore maybe some of the darker sides of it as well. Like, I think we all love the Toys That Made Us. I'm a huge fan of that series. And so, but when you watch that docu-series, you're getting sort of the warm fuzzies after each episode of remembering and learning about the things that you grew up with. But I feel like this is going to maybe almost change people's perception of the company itself, and I think it's going to really hit different. And I'm just hoping, like, I feel like Zach Galifianakis is probably going to be Ty Warner, I think. I didn't even know the Ty, T-Y. I just thought it was the TY symbol. I didn't know it was based off of that guy's name. So I think it'll do a really good job to maybe educate people, not only on, making that more than just a tag, but also showing people, well, it's actually not really because of that guy. It's actually to do with these it sounds like powerful women that actually elevated and were responsible for Beanie Babies.
Did you guys ever see that movie Bombshells? It stars Charlize Theron, Margot Robbie, Nicole Kidman as well.
Yeah, really terrific movie.
Yeah, it was fantastic, right? And it definitely has a very explicit message. There's a seriousness to that and empowering the women, right, in that movie that you take and you bring that into this movie. Plus, you add like that Adam McKay flair, and you have the perfect formula here to tell this story with Zach Galifianakis being Ty Warner and these other characters rounding it out in a more genuinely honest way of how the story would be told. But I think it's an interesting story to be told because even for us as collectors, we recognize that those things were huge fads and huge collectibles that bombed. And people constantly compare Beanie Babies to Funkos, and we're so invested in Funkos. And even just adding in the relevancy of NFTs right now and how these are become the new collectibles, there's such a relevancy to seeing this story unfold and who was really behind it and the profit that others make off of people's collections. So,
well, and obviously we're all big collectors. We're all huge Funko Pop people as well. And yeah, man, like when I was a kid, Beanie Babies were the shit, right? Like I remember always being so stoked to go into the store, go to the store in the mall where it always smelled like scented candles and they sold gift cards to make sure I picked up maybe one, maybe two per trip. But yeah, no, thankfully no one ever got hit or punched or anything like that while I was trying to get Beanie Babies. But yeah, man, like the bears and stuff like that are huge. I still have the acrylic boxes that they're sitting in the storage shed somewhere. But, I know that, obviously they didn't hold their value. So it is going to be really interesting to sort of see. I would love to see Ty Warner. I mean, it is a fictionalized story, so I don't know how exact they're going to go with it, but I just think it would be sick if Zach Galifianakis ended up working at one of those scented candle stores at the end of the movie and has to deal with some little kid like buying them, and he's like, I'm a huge, and the kid's like, shut up, mister, and like, just, I don't know. Well, speaking of little kids maybe not behaving when they should be, they better be behaving because Tim Allen is bringing the Santa Claus franchise back, but not how you'd expect. This in a write-up from Mike Reyes over at Cineblend. 'Tis the season to bring back old favorites, especially if you're one of the elves hard at work over at Disney+. Hot on the heels on the announcement that cult classic Real Steel, I didn't realize that was a cult classic, is being developed for a streaming series return. It looks like Tim Allen is bringing the Santa Claus franchise for that same platform. However, the new project isn't exactly what you'd expect for such an announcement. Rather than continue with the cinematic outing, like Disney is currently doing with Hocus Pocus 2, this chapter in another beloved holiday franchise is going to be a limited series. Recently announced by Disney+, The Santa Claus, which is the working title for Allen's return both to TV and the character of Scott Calvin. With the goal to start production this March, this new adventure is going to be about a pivotal moment in the current Santa's career, according to the official synopsis. The synopsis is as follows. Scott Calvin is on the brink of his 65th birthday, which is Tim Allen 65? Like, is that accurate? Holy crap, I've just always thought he was like 50. And realizing that he can't be Santa forever. He's starting to lose a step in his Santa duties. And more importantly, he's got a family who could benefit from a life in the normal world, especially his two kids who have grown up at the pole. With a lot of elves, children, and family to please, Scott sets out to find a suitable replacement for Santa while preparing his family for a new adventure in the life south of the pole. Sorry, that's a hard last sentence
Growing
to
up
read.
at the pole
pole
sounds
twice.
like you're at the strip club or something.
The pole. Just growing up at the
Twice
pole.
in the synopsis is just an awful idea.
Growing south of the pole. Working alongside Alan behind the scenes is executive producer, showrunner Jack Burdett, who is the sitcom veteran who's worked on Frasier, 30 Rock, and Modern Family. And when you have a blend of those, that, if anything, makes me
Sounds
a little bit more intrigued than the Santa Claus. So, guys, my biggest question with all of this, though, I thought Tim Allen was canceled. He's no longer playing the role of Buzz Lightyear. Do you think Disney has looked past his political views, and are you excited to see the return of this character?
I didn't know anything about his canceling. Could you enlighten? What was that about?
Yeah, well, so he's come out a few times, kind of being a lot more pro-Trump than I think Disney would like him to. And so when they obviously announced Pixar's Lightyear and Chris Evans kind of being a part of it, there was a lot of sort of a lot of people digging as to why, and it seems that was why. I think it's interesting though, because like I think there's really no way to continue this IP without him. It would seem really, really weird. It does seem like they want to continue the IP and have this sort of be a send off for him. It seems like, right? Like he's gonna find the next Santa Claus. So maybe that's how they're sort of okay with it. I say what you will about his political views. I personally, like, I don't have a problem with Tim Allen necessarily as a person, but he's you need him to be Santa Claus. Like you can't.
Yeah, I think the franchise is obviously a huge success. So it's like you can't really tell that story. You could try to reinvent it and say, okay, well, let's distance ourselves. But to your point, whatever he said couldn't have been that bad. Right. That they wouldn't have wanted to work with him. And I think it actually is a smarter choice to cast Chris Evans rather than Tim Allen, because you're giving a new dimension to a character that is not the part of the Toy Story line.
Right.
It's part of a new story. So
sure,
Chris Evans makes sense. But that being said, yeah, Santa Claus, you would have to do it. I watched them both this past holiday season just for shits and giggles. And honestly, one is still actually is very nostalgic when you rewatch it. But man, number 2 is awful. Like number 2 is probably the worst example of a movie, period.
Well, I find it funny that you only mentioned 2 of them, because there is a third.
Oh, there is a third one. There is a third one that I did not watch. I did not make it to. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean
that one had Martin Short, right?
Really, it's Jack Frost or something. But I mean, if doing it in a TV format means they're straying away from that terrible movie format, I think it's definitely a positive. But I still think it's just going to be a Disney Plus show. It's not. There's no real chance to sort of branch out and take a different spin with it being on Disney Plus. I think we're going to get a lot of the same old with that.
I feel like it's going to be another situation similar to like Home Sweet Home Alone, where I feel like this franchise and this character is better left in our memories than with whatever they're going to do going forward. I don't know if we need another reboot like this.
I agree, but I guess the only thing is that, the credentials of who he has working with him that's worked on, Frasier, Modern Family, and what was the other one?
30 Rock.
30 Rock. Yeah.
Right? Like, I think that's some good writing credit. It does really come down to what is the story that they're going to try to tell. But yeah. I
mean, listen, if it's filmed kind of like an Office or a 30 Rock style, like I might be, again, more intrigued by that aspect
Modern
of it.
Family style, right? And then it has like a Frasier-esque sort of comedy to it, like where it's like very, corny and like very holiday puns and like,
right.
I don't know.
Toss salad and scrambled eggs, something like that. If they get Tim Allen just in
Kelsey
singing
Grammer's
Christmas
in it?
jazz, if Kelsey Grammer's in it, dude, that would be.
There's a guy who's been canceled by Hollywood for his political views more so than Tim Allen.
And like, I think that's just really quick before we continue here, because I think the next story might sort of bring this up a little bit as well. But like the idea of sort of, we saw it with Gina Carano earlier with The Mandalorian and then her series. I mean, we assume it was her series with like the Rangers of the New Republic or whatever. She's been canceled. I just feel like it's like, is it a certain number of posts on Twitter that equal Disney no longer wanting to work with you? Like, is that how that works?
it really does depend on how people go about doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of addressing their own opinions and views, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, you know what? I think you can account it to working for any big company, right? If you've ever worked for a big company, anyone who's done so, myself included, like you have to sign the fact that like you're representing the company when you speak. And so especially if they're in the middle of a big project, if they're in the middle of making a new movie that's being put out there and marketing is working on that, if you're damaging their IP, sometimes they care more about that than even the moral implications of what you're saying. So right. I feel like there is an aspect to that as well. But I mean, speaking of sort of someone who's sort of been in the news for saying certain things. Let's move on to our next story here. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever to resume filming next week with Letitia Wright. This story brought to us by Boris Kitt and Aaron Couch of The Hollywood Reporter. Eyes were on Wright, a British citizen, because she had expressed anti-COVID vaccine sentiments. The CDC late last year implemented rules requiring all non-immigrant, non-citizen air travelers to the U.S. to be fully vaccinated and provide proof of vaccination status before boarding a plane. While not commenting on her vaccinated status, several sources say those issues have been resolved. Wright's agent also did not comment, only telling The Hollywood Reporter she always intended to return, but just needed to wait until she had fully recovered. She was injured on set as well. That's not in the story. I'm just kind of bringing that up. Now, separately, this is another interesting wrinkle. Sources say Winston Duke, who plays M'Baku, negotiated a hefty raise for his return to Black Panther due to what is being described as an expanded role in the Panther mythos. What that expansion looks like is unclear, and Marvel had no comment. Insiders say the restart is not expected to impact the movie's release date, which is currently November 11th, 2022. It had already been moved once before from July 8th, 2022. So despite what you might think of her, it seems Shuri is taking the reins. But I wanted to also call out that comment, guys. Winston Duke as M'Baku. Do you guys think, does this mean that he's more of a main character, or are we seeing a shift with maybe Disney eyeing him as the next leader of Wakanda? Justin?
I think it's eyeing them both, but
Yeah.
to take Black Panther as a franchise in two different directions,
Ooh.
right? I think it's the idea of understanding that with the loss of Chadwick, meaning the loss of T'Challa, there's an openness to how they're going to address, what happens to his character. And that's yet to be seen. And obviously in this movie, that will be addressed. But they're going to find a way to continue what T'Challa stood for and what Wakanda means, and move Wakanda forward in movies and series with these characters.
I like that.
I mean, I wasn't the hugest fan of Black Panther, but I certainly did like the M'Baku character, and so to get more of Winston Duke is always a good thing in that role. I thought he was great, so I'm all for. And that was kind of my assumption as to where they might take things with the passing of Chadwick, and so I'm certainly on board for that.
Yeah, similar sentiments though on Letitia's part. Like, I've enjoyed her work in the past, and her as Shuri is just such a fan favorite. So, it's always disappointing when you do sort of hear of some of these complications. And the thing is, look, I'm not going to say that I understand and fully know where she stands on her views on COVID and her stands on vaccinations. But again, I think it really just comes down to, people to sort of see this happen and then all of a sudden they just say, well, that character no longer exists in this universe. It sucks because it's such a shame, because the character of Shuri herself is so phenomenal. And so it's like, I think regardless, we need to sort of find a way to separate those things in Hollywood, because there's a lot of people that work really hard on these projects. And so when one of them is being a dick, basically, or awful, it sucks, because then all of a sudden everyone else just sort of goes, okay, well, I'm not going to see that movie because I don't want to support that person. But you're not supporting so many other people, and it just, I don't know. I know it's a bit of a rant coming from me here, but I just think it kind of sucks.
No,
I really do love Shuri.
You don't want them to Gina Carraro her, right? Like,
exactly. Yeah, and it's
you don't want them to be like, oh, well, she's obviously way too opinionated about this. We don't want to promote that, so
yeah.
Get rid of her. I feel like I think with Gina Carraro it was a different thing though, because I think that character was just slowly already spinning off
Yeah.
Right. Like that's she was at the beginning of that, and then things went south. And I think they were like, let's just cut all ties here, and just abandon ship. But I think with a character like Shuri, to your point, they may actually recast her. They would do that.
And to your point, if Winston Duke is going to be a more prevalent player, like it's very possible we could be seeing the seeds of sort of a safety net in that situation where they say, okay, well, look, people also really liked M'Baku, so why don't we just put both of them at the forefront or closer. Yeah, and they've got the blanket out. They're just in case something needs to go down. They have the ability to do that. So it's going to be really interesting regardless, I think, of how the movie turns out. I think Ryan Coogler is so freaking incredible. I hope he's incredible enough to deal with all these rewrites and obviously these production halts.
Man.
It just seems so tricky. So hopefully we do find out. I don't know if that is going to be a movie we see this year based on everything that's already going on with it. It might get pushed. It's so close to 2023 anyways, so we'll have to wait and see. All right, well, that is it for the news. Speaking about movies that we have to wait and see how they turn out, let's get into trailer time.
It's trailer time.
Okay, guys, so this first trailer, I'm laughing just literally looking at the title of it. It's tough to say with a straight face, but, this was a trailer that actually came out, it seems like a month ago now at this point, but we just really haven't got a chance to talk about it. And it's been kind of a slower week with trailers anyways, so I just was like, we have to talk about this. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. If you haven't seen this already, this is directed by Tom Gormican, and the description reads as so: a cash-strapped Nicolas Cage, yes, the character is Nicolas Cage, agrees to make a paid appearance at a billionaire superfan's birthday party, but is really an informant for the CIA since the billionaire fan is a drug kingpin and gets cast in a Tarantino movie. It's like, what? Like, who wrote this? It's starring Pedro Pascal as that kingpin, Tiffany Haddish, Neil Patrick Harris, and of course, Nicolas Cage as Nicolas Cage. The release date is April 2022. Guys, what did you think of this trailer for The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent?
It looks hilarious. It looks like his version of being John Malkovich, right?
Oh,
like, you know what I mean? Like, just very character study and in vein of the kind of character that he wants to be perceived as. You know what I mean?
Well, he's like having fun with it. You see him like at the end of that trailer, you just see him crying, and I'm just like, he might as well just say not the bees. Like it's so. I love to see that he's really having fun with it. Like he's really just sort of engaging in that aspect, and he knows who he is, and he knows the stupid choices that he's made in terms of the films that he's worked on, and to see him just have fun with it, I think it makes me so much more excited for this.
Oh yeah, this looks like Nick Caging at a Nick Cage level of Nick Caging. It's just like intense Nick Cagery, and I am all for that every day of the week. I mean, the guy has just become just such an entity and almost a caricature of himself at this point. Why not celebrate it, jump right in, and just sort of have fun with it?
Yeah, I think it's like, again, it's sort of like even like a Chuck Norris. You know, he's built an image around just Nick Cage. So I like this play with the sort of meta. There's a very physical element to it of knowing who Nick Cage is, and also seeing these characters played by actors that we know are not obviously these characters, like Pedro Pascal.
Sure,
he's showing him his sculpture of him in Face Off.
Dude, and I love that Pedro Pascal is in this, because I feel like he's, we saw him have the opportunity to be both sort of serious and scary, but also silly in Wonder Woman 2. He was probably my favorite part of Wonder Woman 2. And so Agreed. I feel like he's kind of the perfect blend of someone who can pull off the serious evil mobster, cut your tongue out kind of guy 1 second, but then your best friend at the second, in the second. And like, it just makes so much sense that this is revolving around a Tarantino movie, because it seems like that's going to be like our hint at the structure of the movie, right? Like it's going to sort of be very sort of slow and character driven all the way up until the end, and then it's just going to go off. Like it's just going to go crazy, and we're going to see Nick Cage like covered in blood at some point, and it's going to get super violent, and I'm just so excited for it. It's funny, I messaged our chat group, and I was like, I need a list of Nick Cage movies to marathon before seeing this movie. And I was really shocked at how many movies I need to watch before, because
there's so many.
There's so many iconic.
Did you put The Rock in
movies.
your list, Kev? On that list that you gave?
The Rock's got to be in that list.
Yeah, The Rock has to be there, right? I said Snake Eyes. The one that I thought you missed was Snake Eyes.
Those are the ones.
Snake Eyes
out.
is ridiculous. Like I found when I watched that, I was like, yo, Nick Cage is nuts.
Yeah. Well, and so I think the coolest thing about this movie is it really has the opportunity to be the movie that wraps a movie marathon like that. Like, when it's safe to get back together, I'm serious, guys. If we want to do like a birthday outdoor screening, in the summertime on a projector of all of these Nick Cage movies and finish with The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, like, it just sounds like such a phenomenal evening. I don't know, man.
Excellent. We'll have Nick Cage themed foods for sure.
Right?
It sounds like it would be more than an evening. It'd probably be 2 days.
Be a weekend.
Yeah, it would have to be like a weekend. You have to get like an Airbnb.
Yeah, and we have costumes. Everyone dresses up as different Nick Cage characters. Like, that's perfect, dude.
I like that. That's a great
right?
idea.
And then food, we could have like themed food. We could have Nick Cage like burgers or something. Speaking of burgers, this next trailer
nice
hey,
Love it.
thank you. I had to flip the one on the grill there. Okay, that didn't work as well. Bob's Burgers, the movie, directed by Lauren Burchard, who's the showrunner, and Bernard Derryman. The description goes: the Belchers trying to save the restaurant from closing as a sinkhole forms in front of it while the kids try to solve a mystery that could save their families. Restaurant. This is starring H. John Benjamin, Christian Schall, Dan Mintz, John Roberts, Eugene Merman, Larry Murphy, Zach Galifianakis, and Kevin Kline. This movie was pushed back significantly, but is found a release date of May 27th of this year. What did you guys think of this this interesting trailer?
Looked like a trailer for an episode.
Right. Yes. And that's how I feel about it as well. I'm kind of like, is this just going to be a long episode?
Well, isn't that what the Simpsons movie was?
Yeah,
right? Like, at the same time, right?
But I
feel like
mention Bob's Burger in the same breath as the Simpsons. I mean, this just seems like the most unnecessary cartoon movie to go to the big screens. If they want to do something for a streaming purpose, that's one thing. This does not feel like a television show worthy of a theatrical release. I'm sure it's got a lot of fans and everything, but I'm certainly not one of them, and so this did nothing for me.
Yeah, I mean, I like. Don't get me wrong. I do really enjoy Bob's Burgers. I enjoy a lot of those characters. I enjoy the fact that like the female characters are all voiced by dudes, and like it's just really it's really. I think it's a series that once you really sort of fall into it, you can just start to fall in love with the characters, and they do have moments where they're actually kind of sentimental and sweet at times. Unlike some of the other sort of animated shows that we might have watched where we don't really get that as much. But you're right. Like, this doesn't need to be a full movie. Like, it's that description sounds like an episode of the show. And so it's like, what are they gonna do and that's different? And this trailer didn't really show that. The only thing I was stoked and kind of got a chuckle from me was the sexy burger aspect, where she's like, just let out the crotch.
But it's like, you know what's funny? It's because when I watched the Simpson movie, I noticed it looked and felt like a movie. Like, it felt more cinematic.
The angles were different, right?
Exactly.
They shot it.
They did, and they shot it with like a little bit of a crop and stuff like that. And I feel like that's the movie aspect that will translate here is how it's viewed as a theater experience. Like, Bob's Burgers has a lot of musical numbers, right? Like, they're known for doing musical numbers and stuff like that. So. And I think it's Lauren Burchard, I know, has a show that I believe is also on Disney Plus that is The Great North, I think it is. And it also feels very Bob's Burger-esque, like it lives in that world. Yeah. Because it is about a family. It's very quirky.
You talking about Central Park?
No, you're talking about The Great North. It's got the same aesthetics and everything like that.
Well, it's funny that you it does sound so much like you are talking about Central Park.
And that's where I was getting to. So it sounds like that. And then you also have Central Park, where that was like actually well received on Apple TV. So I get why they're giving him the ability to tell this story on the big screen, but I don't know if we need it. Right?
I'm still trying to get over the fact that Nate called Kristen Shaw a dude.
Oh no, I meant most of the characters.
You said all, so I'm
sure, yeah. And for our last trailer, we literally actually just paused the recording of the podcast to watch it. So this is as fresh a take as we can give you. Directed by Justin Benson, Mohammed Diab, and Aaron Moorhead, with one episode being directed by George Clooney. So according to IMDb, we just watched the trailer for Moon Knight. The description reads, a former U.S. Marine struggling with dissociative identity disorder is granted the powers of an Egyptian moon god. But he soon finds out that these newfound powers can be both a blessing and a curse to his troubled life. This show stars Oscar Isaac, May Calloway, Gaspard Ulliel, and Ethan Hawke, with a rumored March 30th. I don't think we got the actual release date on that. We did? It is March 30th?
Yes.
March 30th release date.
Watched it twice. You didn't see it?
I didn't watch that part. I didn't watch that
blank.
part. I was probably more distracted by the fact that he freaking flies through the air and that becomes the Disney Plus logo. Like, let's freaking go, dude. This show looks so cool. I'm so stoked. And I think the fact that it is Oscar Isaac is probably the best part of this show for me, seeing this trailer.
100% for me too. But like, I'm also thinking, like, where is this show going? You know, because I feel like this trailer pretty like lays it out pretty clearly how they're going to tie things together to what we've already seen in the MCU. Just Ethan Hawke's, you have chaos, you know, embrace the chaos, right? Like, we now know that is a word that describes, you know, Wanda's powers and what she is now consumed with. And then coming off of Eternals, we have, you know, Dane Whitman's The Black Knight being introduced, and Blade being there, who's in London. Like, they're just introducing so many mythical lore elements into the MCU now, and it all kind of really started with Wanda and the Darkhold. It's interesting to see where they're going to go with Moon Knight and how Moon Knight plays into that.
Totally. And I think it's going to be really cool to sort of see him play these different characters. I think there was a lot of speculation off the initial footage we saw that he was the British cabbie at one point, but then he was this Mark guy at another point, and it looks like they're really going to follow through with that. And I think it's kind of cool because I love the idea that we could be following maybe a character, and maybe as an audience, you know, if he does have multiple characters that have, you know, either US accents or English accents, like, it'll be really cool to sort of see how they play with that, because I love the idea of sort of watching an entire episode and sort of being like, wait, which one are we with right now? And I think it's a super, like, it's such a unique sort of idea that they can really pull through, where we get to be just as lost and confused as he does. And I'm so stoked. There was obviously a lot of theories as well about that museum that he's in this trailer is the same museum that we see in Eternals. So if that's how they're bringing it in. And then, dude, just really quick, the music, like Day and Night, like the epic version of that Kid Cudi song, because like it's so freaking sick. And Justin, just before we started recording, you were joking. What were you saying?
I was like, Dane Knight. It sounds like he's saying Dane Knight.
Dane? No, okay, yeah, that's exactly what they're going for.
The Black Knight.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I think we could see Blade show up at the end of this, right?
And that's why. That's the reason why.
Because he's pulling them all together. He's like,
I do think this looks like the first real plunge Marvel is going to take into a more horror aspect or horror realm. You know, awesome. They've been talking about it for a while, and I think that, you know, with the multiverse of madness and then the properties you're talking about, Justin, like Blade, they lend themselves to be a bit darker, a bit scarier, and this really looks like that one scene in the elevator there is that was spooky. So if we get a lot of those elements thrown in here, you know, like almost nightmarish, it's going to be a very big departure from a lot of the Disney Plus shows we've seen so far from Marvel.
And I love the cinematography. I love the way they can capture these moments and use reflections. I think, you know, we talked about that being one of our favorite parts of Last Night in Soho was the aspect of them using reflections to tell a story while watching the main character as well. And I think that's such a really cool idea that we could literally get a moment where we see all of these, you know, sort of different identities meeting. And I think that would be really, really intriguing and really cool. And I think, if you had any other actor in there, I think it'd be tough to pull off. I think Oscar Isaac's such a perfect choice for this role. And I'm excited because, I'm not familiar with Moon Knight at all. So the closest parallel I can draw is Batman. And so if this is Marvel's Batman, like we see him doing the Batman style beatdown, Ethan Hawke it feels like it's going to be his Alfred. Like I'm just so amped for this. Like I can barely.
Well, speaking of Batman, I can't believe we're getting Nipples Batman in the Marvel MCU, essentially with George Clooney directing an episode. That's very, very cool.
And that could be part of some of that inspiration. I don't know. Maybe he's going to bring some element of his understanding of what he did on Batman to this. Maybe. Hopefully
really
not.
Hope not.
Yeah, hopefully not nipples. I'm just so amped, dude. I'm so excited for this, and the costume looks absolutely stellar.
I agree. The costume looks awesome. I just really hope they really play into the aspect of ancient Egypt. That's one of my favorite sort of themes to explore, and so I do hope we get to dive fairly deep into that, as I think again very different and something fresh for the MCU.
Well, he's technically already played a character in ancient Egypt in Marvel.
Let's never speak of that again.
Yeah, hopefully we don't ever have to deal with Apocalypse again. But yeah, man, I think this looks so good, and I'm so excited for this. And you bet your ass we're going to do a watch club for this show. Holy crap.
Yeah, I think that there's just so much in this trailer that lends itself to what we've already visually seen throughout the MCU over the last year that just draws so many parallels. Like you brought up mirrors shattering, very similar to like time and how we've seen the multiverse breaking, like shattering glass. And I feel like what we're going to see is the life of this character lived in different times, almost like across different periods. And I think if they lean into that period piece aspect to really kind of enrich in it, almost give more of what Eternals had but didn't have enough of. I think it was the big argument, right? So you have a little bit more of that.
Justin, are you theorizing that we could be seeing parts of this series that we think is in our time, but then turns out to be maybe like in the 80s, and then another version of it's actually taking place? Like, are you saying we're dealing with, like, is this some Christopher Nolan stuff going on? Like, what are we doing here?
I'm saying like it would be interesting if that's how they go the route, because we don't have our Marvel expert here, but I'm pretty sure with Moon Knight's sort of disorder, it is about different people across different times, right?
Wow.
And
or multiverses.
But I think that's what they're hinting at. They're making it relative for the story that they're telling. And again, bringing in the Wanda references, like I'm wondering how the Darkhold is going to really come into this sort of world, right? Yeah. And if Wanda is really, to your point, you keep saying it, Wanda's going to become the bad guy. I wonder if she does become the bad guy, and Blade has to bring together a group of people that are going to potentially bring her back, right?
So cool. So cool.
Who knows?
Do you think we do see? You mentioned Dane Whitman. Do you think we do see Blade as well in this? Maybe the reveal of Blade through this series, maybe at the end. Is it going to be a Mephisto situation where everyone's like, he's got to be there, and then he doesn't show up? We'll have to wait and see. March 30th, again, 2022. I am so amped. I'm going to watch, as soon as this podcast ends, I'm going to watch that trailer again, and then I can't wait for all the breakdowns as well to kind of get some more context. And, of course, again, we will be doing a watch club for that show. I think, is that going to be the next watch club that we do, or we'll have to wait and see? Okay. Interesting. Well, that's it. We hope you enjoyed this week in Geek. And if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts on this week's news or any of the content we cover here, well, the Juice himself, Justin, is going to let you know how you can reach us.
Yo, Juice! So you can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or you can reach out to us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT or on Instagram at wearegeekcentric.
I feel like we need to do like a video version of this podcast, because right now, especially when Justin's got that accent, he's got like the striped Adidas like mafia style jacket on, the bro look,
all the way up to
right. But dude, when you have it unzipped like that, and then he's got like this tight patterned shirt underneath. It looks like he's just tatted up all up the chest. I was like, who is this guy? He's the juice. But listen, keep in touch because we've got so much great content coming at you this year in 2022, including our watch club every week for the Book of Boba Fett continuing on, hoping that it gets a little bit better than the first 3 episodes, as well as our recent Geek Back episode, where we looked back at 2021 and gave our picks for our favorite movies and shows of 2021. If you are just listening to this and you want maybe an understanding of sort of who we are, our tastes, and all of the really cool things that we got to do in 2021, I highly recommend that you listen to that episode. That was such a fun one to do.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great episode.
Man. Cool. Awesome. So we are Geekcentric and you can be too, which means you can also check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/Geekcentric. And if you want to tune in live and keep the conversation going while watching me do some gaming or opening up Pokemon cards or playing Mario Party, you can do so over at twitch.tv/NatePlaysGames and follow me on Instagram at NatePlaysGames to see when I'm going live. Justin, Kevin, thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. And as we say, love ya.
Get home safe, guys.
Peace.